Two of us riding nowhere, spending someone's hard-earned pay.
That is right. We are spending someone's hard-earned pay.
Our
own hard-earned pay, because this isn't American mooch and tunes. This is American brews and tunes.
Oh my goodness.
Here's a theme song, you know it's not a mean song. It's a good song, just as it should song. American brews and tunes. Shibbity beeby dow.
Wow. Welcome back, everybody.
To another episode of American Brews and Tunes. My name is Steven Johnston.
And my name is Jesse Titus.
Now, I know that last week we had referenced that we are going to be reviewing the Animal Collective and Silverstein albums, but surprise! We are not. That will be next week.
Yep, we're going to give ourselves another week.
Yeah, these albums are doozies?
I would say that's a good descriptor.
I would too.
Fairly crazy.
They're just taking us a little bit more time than we anticipated.
Because both of them are what our respective co-host does not typically like or listen to.
That and they're dense.
Yeah.
And we also are regular people with 40-hour work weeks. So
you don't have all day to listen to it.
Yeah, so we're just going to do a fun one-off episode.
Yeah, just a fun one.
You've heard them before. We review one album and try one beer.
Yep.
And this week, we're reviewing the classic album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band by the Beatles.
What a classic album.
The Beatles.
The Beatles.
Now, we had reviewed one of their albums before on a one-off. It was Rubber Soul.
Yep.
A great album, but this is great in its own way.
It is.
The Beatles are such a band of diverse sounds.
Yes.
And styles.
Very diverse. And I think, is this the only album that sounds like this? Or did they have like another psychedelic weird album?
There was weird stuff on other albums.
I mean, this one's not really psychedelic, but
you can argue some
songs
elements
are. But
we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Before we dive into this beast of a concept, let's talk about the other half of the podcast, the brew portion.
All right.
So it
sounds like a plan.
It's going to be fall, am I right?
Yeah.
Well,
you are right.
Actually, we have almost like a full month of summer left.
Yeah. Well, not a full month, half month.
Almost a full month. I think the last day of summer is September 21st.
Oh, really?
So almost a full month.
You mean the fall equinox?
Something like that.
Or the summer solstice.
But with September comes
something like
Oktoberfest.
Oh.
We love Oktoberfest, being beer lovers, am I right?
We sure do.
Now, Oktoberfest, I'm going to not get this correct because I don't remember off the top of my head and I don't have any literature in front of me, was a celebration of a marriage, I believe, in Germany long ago. So they brewed a beer especially for that wedding. I believe it was a wedding. And it was this style beer. It's a Marzen lager. A Marzen lager, because they had to start brewing it in March, I believe.
Huh, that makes sense.
So it was always ready by September. Oktoberfest. And a Marzen lager, an Oktoberfest beer, whatever you have it, a fest beer. Those are all names for the same style of lager.
Yep.
Like I said, is a lager. It's not an ale.
Yeah.
It's usually classified as being a little bit more malty and sweet.
Yep.
In a delicious fashion.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of different
Caramely
Oktoberfest.
and whatnot.
Oh, very caramely. I mean, it's some may say caramelly.
Some may say that, but those people
caramely.
Normally are crazy a little bit.
I don't know, caramel. I hear a lot of people say caramel.
What's the other word that is like
caramel?
No, people don't say that.
I don't know. Maybe
No, there are multiple different words that people pronounce differently.
Syrup,
right?
syrup.
Yeah, syrup and syrup.
Pop.
Well.
Soda? No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Who says soda anyway?
I don't know. Crazies.
Nobody.
The only time I would ever think of that is like if you're saying like cream soda or baking soda.
Or Minnesota.
Yeah, exactly.
See.
Exactly. But if you hadn't guessed, we're having an Oktoberfest beer.
Yeah.
It's from a kind of local brewery. It's called Wiseacre.
Yeah, they're from Memphis.
They're from Memphis, which is a couple hours away.
Just a couple hours.
West, right?
Yes, west.
Knoxville's
southwest.
east from us. Memphis is west. So
yes.
it's a Tennessee beer. I've had plenty of beers from Wiseacre. They're a solid brewery.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just simply called Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest.
Yeah, and right underneath it, it says Gemütlichkeit.
Gemütlichkeit.
And which I believe means good health, something along those lines.
Probably.
When I hear Gemütlichkeit, what do you think I think of? I think of that awesome traditional German drinking song. Ein Prosit, ein Prosit der Gemütlichkeit. Ein Prosit der Gemütlichkeit. Ziggy, 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 ziggy. Oi, oi, oi. So if you ever go to a German beer hall, or if you're anywhere in Germany and someone sings that song, it's a drinking song, you raise your glass, you do oi, 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 and take a drink.
Yep. I was thinking about that today.
What fun.
Other German songs.
What are the German songs?
Like the birthday song.
Zum Geburtstag viel Glück. Zum Geburtstag viel Glück. Alles Gute, American Brews and Tunes.
Zum Geburtstag viel Glück.
Wow, our
I really
harmony and
messed that
melody kind of shifted there.
That was bad.
Yeah, I think you shifted the melody as I was
did.
sinking into the
I did
harmony.
because I thought of what the harmony was, and I was like, no, that's not what you're supposed to sing, Jesse. But then I did anyway.
Well, it's okay. It happens.
So what do you say we open up this Oktoberfest from the good people at Wiseacre Brewing Company in Memphis, Tennessee?
I think that sounds like a plan, and it's worth noting that I am having mine in a Oktoberfest Stein from the Tennessee Volksfest.
Volkswagen, yeah?
Yeah, Volksfest.
I guess it's also worth noting that I'm having mine in a NOLA Brewing Company glass.
Not worth noting. Duly noted.
Duly noted.
Now, what does duly noted mean?
Duly noted.
Because I noted it because there was two things here. Like I was noting my glass and
I don't believe it means it's not duly noted. It's duly noted.
Do like D-U-E?
Like D-U-E, yeah, I believe
instead
so.
of D-U...
D-U-A-L, yeah. So I believe duly noted, like that I did that quickly. I noted that quickly, maybe.
I suppose so.
Mine foamed over a little bit, and so I got a little taste of the beer head, and it's pretty darn good.
Is it
the foam tasted good anyway?
The foam sweet and whatnot?
Yeah. I'm kind of excited to try this. It's got a really nice brown color, almost like an acorn brown, I would say. If any of you have seen an acorn before, it kind of looks like this. Not the top part of the acorn, the actual nut part.
And speaking of acorns, if you look at Wiseacre's logo, it's an acorn with a thunderbolt.
Oh, trickery.
Is that fitting or is that fitting?
That's fitting.
It's a trick question because the answer is it's fitting. All right, so let's do our traditional cheers, which we all know from American Brews and Tunes, but end it with Prost.
Okay.
And then a cheers. How about that?
Wait.
So we're going to say our traditional slogan.
Gotcha.
Prost. Cheers our glass.
Yep.
And then drink.
Sounds good.
All right, so if all of you join us or don't join us, you do you, we'll do us. We can join in the middle. We'll see how it goes. Prost.
Let's give this a shot.
This is super caramely.
Super.
Like really caramely. And
Sehr lecker.
Like it's really delicious.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's like eating a piece of caramel, but you know what I mean, caramely.
Yeah, I definitely
sweet.
understand what you mean.
The malts are definitely present, a little more roasty than I thought, actually. There's like a hint of more roasted malts than I was expecting.
I feel like they're a little bit more subdued than I would normally think to taste in an Oktoberfest.
What's more subdued?
The maltiness.
You think?
But I think that's because, like you said, it's more roasty.
A little bit more roasty, a little less sweet. But
yeah,
still
so it's almost kind of like a bitter sweetness, but bitter's really not the right word because whenever I say bitter, I think of like, no, that's
hops?
sour, like hops, yeah, and it's not really bitter like a hop. It's like
really good.
It's bitter like the top part of a creme brulee that's been flambéed.
Yeah, and that's what you get from the roasted malts.
Carameliness, that caramely, roasty flavor.
Well,
I believe we've established that there's nice caramel roastiness to this beer.
I think it's delicious. I'm very satisfied with it.
Yeah, same here.
I think it's got a great drinkability, and I would have it again.
I definitely would as well.
So I think it's a great first Oktoberfest for the year.
What is it coming in at in terms of ABV?
I believe it's a little higher than some lagers. Like generally, like a lager, I think would be 4 to 5%. This is 6%.
6%.
So it's not like astronomically high, but for a
lager, it kind of is though.
A German style lager, it's a little higher than I'd expect.
Percent higher.
Yeah, like if you're sitting in a beer garden drinking all day, you probably don't want to have anything above 4.5%.
No,
just a nice, easygoing lager to enjoy time with your friends and not get plastered.
Yep.
But then again, I'm assuming most of the people walk to the beer garden in Germany.
Yeah, most likely. Because it's way more condensed.
Yeah, a little bit.
There.
So, shall we move on to the album?
We shall.
Oui.
Ja.
Yeah. Yeah.
Willkommen to American Brews
Und
und
Musiktag.
Musiktag.
Ja.
No, what is it? What's the word
Der
for music in German?
Amerikanen Bier,
Bier
und
und
Musikverlag.
Music.
Musik. That's our German pronunciation. If you're German and you know the language, sorry if we butchered that because we made it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Jesse's was based more on actual knowledge because he took a little bit of
Here,
German.
I'll make it up. Ich liebe dich.
Oh.
All the Germans.
We all do. Anyways, the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, released May 1967.
All right, let's just put this in perspective. I'm sure many people have heard this album.
I would hope so.
But think about the fact that it came out in 67.
Yeah, what else was happening in 67?
Well, just the styles of music that existed then.
Yeah.
Definitely were not like this. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
Because it's just, this album is so
the
crazy.
60s, yeah, there's a lot of crazy things happening, but musically, a lot of experimentation was going on.
Yeah.
This is their 8th studio album, coming out right after Revolver.
Yep.
So Revolver was a little bit more experimental than their earlier stuff, but this took a huge jump.
Yeah.
The next album that came out after this was Magical Mystery Tour.
Mm-hmm.
And that one kind of progressed on this one a little bit, but did its own thing, I'd say.
Yeah.
Now, it's very much worth noting that the Beatles had permanently retired from touring at the end of 1966.
Right, yeah.
So before they started writing.
It was getting just too crazy.
Too crazy. They couldn't hear themselves play because all the girls were screaming too much.
That's
That's
crazy.
such a weird phenomenon. I've never experienced that, and I don't think we ever will.
Yeah.
Because it's just...
Well, because the internet.
And
now.
I don't think there's ever going to be anything like the Beatles.
Yeah.
That's just
Anything
it was a one-time thing.
revolutionary
Yeah.
as that, yeah.
So, like, they started writing knowing they weren't ever going to play these songs live, so that...
Interesting.
That made them free to write...
Whatever they wanted.
Whatever arrangements they wanted.
Yeah.
Have whatever, orchestration, whatever song structure they could do.
Yeah.
It was limitless. The only limits was what their mind could think of, essentially. So it was a freeing experience, I suppose, for them.
Yeah,
I don't want to speak for them, but I would think so. Now, Sgt. Pepper's is arguably the first mainstream popular concept album.
Arguably, yeah.
Arguably. Though there was other concept albums before, but nothing like mainstream or
yeah, because
like
this
brought to this attention. This is the Beatles doing it.
Yeah, so frame it. So essentially, well, I mean, I guess we could start with the first track, but...
Yeah, we could, but like a concept album is a loose term for an album that generally has a concept,
a theme.
a thorough concept throughout. It can be
throughout the whole
it can be
album.
a theme that comes back either musically or lyrically. It can be a story or narrative that's told throughout an album. It's a loose term, but generally a concept that goes throughout the album somehow.
Yeah.
It's kind of like bookended by the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, a fictitious band like putting on a show for an audience.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of the concept. A couple more quick things before we delve into the actual songs. As of 2011, there have been over 32 million copies sold.
Wow.
One of the highest sold albums of all time. And it's been notable, and this isn't my quote, I've read this off Wikipedia.
Okay.
I don't want to take credit because it's a pretty cool quote.
Yeah.
It's been highly regarded as bridging the gap between popular music and high art. So I think that's pretty cool.
Interesting.
To frame it, I guess.
Huh.
This was my favorite Beatles album for the longest time until eventually I just decided I couldn't pick a favorite.
Yeah.
I currently do not have a favorite Beatles album. I probably never will.
I don't think I ever will either.
I've thought I've switched favorite albums a couple times and then changed my mind again and again. So I'm just deciding that I'm gonna not have a favorite.
Yeah.
Too difficult. They're all
That
great.
is kind of difficult. That's like saying, do you have a favorite flavor of ice cream?
I will say that I favor. I do have a favorite flavor of ice cream.
Really?
Yeah,
What is it?
it's cannoli ice cream from Geneva College.
Oh gosh.
I'm dead serious. I can pick it out on a dime. There's other great ice
Wow.
creams. I will say this, coming back to the Beatles, though, I do favor their later material over their early rock and roll stuff.
Yeah.
I do like the rock and roll stuff, but I just like their later stuff a little better.
Yeah.
Shall we dive in?
So there's a spectrum.
There's a spectrum.
Okay.
Yeah, the color
That
spectrum
makes
of the
sense.
Beatles.
Or the color spectrum of ice cream.
Or, yeah, No, yeah.
Or even the color spectrum of beer.
Yeah, color spectrum. Well, you can have a literal color spectrum of beer based on what the color they are.
But okay, flavor spectrum.
Which ours is a pretty orange
Acorn
red.
brown.
Acorn brown, as Jesse said. All right, first song is the title track, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Yep.
I'm just going to give it as a recommendation. I recommended 4 songs.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Well, yeah, this song sets up the entire album.
It sets it up because the fictitious band, which is the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I don't know why I keep switching this. I call it Club Bland. Club Band introduces you, the audience or the listener, to the show that's going to be happening.
Yeah.
And they literally do that. Like, welcome to the show where Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Yeah.
Sit back and let the evening go. Bop, 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 bum.
Yeah.
And it's really just fun sounding. If you see the album cover and the attire that they're wearing, like almost like militaristic, but colorful.
But it's almost like I always think of it as like a circus or something like that.
Yeah, circusy. Military circus. That's the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I keep doing it. They're fictitious alter egos, if you want to call it.
Yeah, I suppose so. And there's a lot of like people on the album artwork.
Yeah, a lot of famous characters.
Yeah.
If you ever look at that, there's a bunch just like in the background, not even hiding. They're just there.
There's there, yeah.
All like pop culture references of sorts.
Is that like
popular of the day?
What do you think that's supposed to mean?
I don't really know.
Like those are the people who are a part of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band?
Club Bland. I can, however, tell you that this did win the best album cover of the 10th annual Grammys.
Really?
Yeah. It also won Best Contemporary Album, Best Engineering, and Album of the Year.
Wow.
Great awards, if I might say so myself. Not that the Beatles really care about Grammys. I'm sure they don't.
Probably not.
Yeah, but this is a great song. Speaking of the album title and the title of this first track, have you ever heard of the movie Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band?
No. Hey, you said it right that time.
I did. I really
You really tried.
Consciously did.
In?
Yeah. It started the Bee Gees, I think, and it was not well received.
Really?
Yeah, it was weird. Very weird.
This was after the album came out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's
weird.
We won't touch more upon that. I just wanted to say that was the thing. This song segues perfectly into track number 2, which is called "With a Little Help from My Friends." Yeah, so like quite literally at the end of the first song, he says, "May I introduce to you the one and only Billy Shears."
Yep.
And Billy Shears, quote unquote, is the singer of the next song, aka Ringo.
Yeah.
This is my second recommendation.
I recommend this one too.
This is among my favorite of all time Beatles songs. It's just like the melody is so catchy. Structurally, it's solid. There's this back and forth later on in the song between Ringo and the other singers. I'm assuming it's Paul and John.
Yeah.
Where he'll say a line and they'll repeat it. Like they'll echo a different line back to him.
Yeah.
But then later on a different verse, they reverse it where they have the first line and he like responds almost.
Yeah.
So it's just it's so well put together, and it's just
it really is.
I can't imagine a person that wouldn't like this song.
I'm sure someone doesn't like it.
It's just hard to imagine. I think we've said it before. Like I'm sure there is, but you just imagine like John Lennon. Imagine, you know.
Yeah.
It's a great song,
imagine
and
all the people.
It is worth noting Joe Cocker's version, his cover.
Yeah.
Which is very popular because of his performance at Woodstock, where he looked like he was crazy drunk or on drugs, but he was singing the crap out of it.
Yeah.
In a good way. And it was the theme song to hit TV show The Wonder Years.
Oh.
I don't know if you ever watched that show.
Never did.
But yeah, it was the theme song.
Okay.
His version is really good.
Is it?
I like the Beatles version better, but his version is really good. I have a hard time with Beatles covers.
Yeah, the Beatles are one of the bands that you just don't try to cover.
Yeah, because it can be a doozy depending on what you cover, but his is so good.
Yeah.
So good. Moving on to track number 3, which is called Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Super catchy. Maybe one of the most popular songs on the album.
If not one of their most
one
popular
of the most popular
songs.
in general.
Yeah.
Is this song about drugs? I don't know.
They say it's not, right?
They say it's not.
There's no way it's
Lucy,
not.
Sky, Diamonds. LSD.
There's no way it's not.
The Beatles were definitely users of drugs. There was no denying that. John said it was about a picture that his son drew in school. That doesn't mean it's not about drugs. Maybe he took LSD and looked at the picture. Who knows? What else do you got to say about this song?
Just some of the word choices that they use are really funny. Girl with kaleidoscope eyes.
It's a colorful song. The imagery is vivid.
Yeah.
It sounds like an acid trip.
But I also really like how that the verses are like really lucid like that, and then
The chorus
comes in with
Paul sings.
Ringo's like, doof, doof.
And then I think Paul sings the chorus, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Lucy in the sky with diamonds. And then John does that high harmony. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Great.
Yeah.
Great song.
It is great.
Shall we move on
We shall.
to something better? Track number 4 is called Getting Better.
I like this song a lot.
I do
It's
too.
getting better all the time.
I think this fits in more with a traditional Beatles sound.
Yeah,
More established in their previous albums. Like this could have been on Revolver or Rubber Soul.
yeah,
It's less experimental, I guess, is a good way to phrase it.
yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's
more
bad.
straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great song. I love this song.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't really seem experimental to me.
Mm-hmm. We'll get to more experimental songs later.
Yes, we will.
We'll get to one of my favorite songs by them.
I'm wondering which one that could be. Curious. Very curious.
Curious, Mr. Potter.
Moving on to track number 5.
Thumph.
It's called Fixing a Hole. This is a goofy song.
I'm fixing a hole where the rain came in. It keeps my mind from wandering.
According
Where it will
to
go.
somewhere I read online, it was probably Wikipedia.
Yeah.
I do research other places. No, I think it was Lyric Genius. Paul admitted later in life that this song is an ode to marijuana.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I understand all the references, but
An ode to marijuana.
I'm not surprised.
Marijuana.
They wouldn't have said that during the time because they were
No.
all like
Well, because then it was like really,
kids listen to the Beatles. You don't want to.
yeah.
Yeah. But the Beatles were always kind of shrouded in some type of controversy,
Yeah.
which is hard to imagine that now all the things that they say or like the controversy surrounding the Beatles is like nothing. But
It was like
back in
normality.
the time period, it was crazy.
Just commonplace now.
Yeah. Let's move on to track number 6, shall we?
Okay.
This song is called She's Leaving Home. Now, this is based on a true story about a girl who ran away from her home. Didn't tell anyone, just kind of left.
Yeah.
To be with a boyfriend, I believe.
Hmm.
And so Paul wrote about it. And it's very like folk-like in that storytelling
Yeah, yeah.
mood.
It's much softer.
There are no drums, guitars, bass, anything. It's all orchestrated, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's really good orchestration, too.
Yeah.
I believe George Martin probably had a lot to do with that. He produced mostly probably every Beatles album. Don't quote me because he probably didn't do every, but a good chunk of them. And he had a lot to do with the production.
Yeah.
So I think he probably had a lot to do with this.
You mean George R.R. Martin?
No. Dun, 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 Moving
Anyway.
on, track number 7, which is called Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite.
Love
Is this one of your favorites? It's out there.
I love this song. It's so funny.
This, I believe, and I think John wanted to say that a lot of his contributions to this album weren't in the concept of the Sgt. Pepper's theme, but I think it was. This is a circus song for sure, and it fits that theme. And it's fitting because this closes the A-side. So by closing the A-side, you harken back to the concept of the album.
Yeah.
Apparently, the lyrics come from a Pablo Frank circus poster that John bought from an antique shop and had like above his piano. And he took the words from that and used that as the lyrics almost verbatim, except for a couple words here and there.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So really interesting, huh?
Don't be late.
And there's a lot of creepy but cool calliope music, like circus music. How's that for a good word?
That's a big word. Steve.
Calliope. Carousel
Yeah.
calliope.
Yeah.
I learned
yeah.
that song from Propaganda, or that word from Propaganda.
Oh, really?
Because they say that in that one song, a carousel calliope.
Yeah.
So I looked it up, and that's just referring to the carnival type music.
Yeah.
And since I looked it up, I've either read it or heard it like probably half a dozen times since then.
Yeah. So you might as well use it whenever you get the chance.
It's a more regular word than I thought.
Interesting.
But it's a weird word, but that's what it refers to.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
The
The arrangement's weird in this song.
the
The instrumentation's weird. There's weird stuff going
everything's
on.
weird about it, and it's awesome.
Like that.
Yeah, I love it.
It reminds me of the on Mario 64 when you go in the Boo Castle, the Ghost Castle,
Yeah.
and you go downstairs and there's that carousel that you're on, and it's doing that creepy carousel calliope music.
Yeah.
That's what I think of. It's fitting for this.
You know the movie Across the Universe? Of course you do.
I do.
You don't really like it that much.
I don't dislike it, but I
But-
don't love it. Bono
But-
shouldn't be singing certain Beatles songs, but no, he's allowed to.
I thought he. Sounded
His wasn't
good,
bad.
But this song, I thought they did. It was really cool in that movie. I thought whenever they go into the tent and they go into the carnival.
The carnival.
Just funny.
Ooh, hey.
And I really like the melody in the song and all the different instrumentation that they use and the orchestration and whatnot.
Speaking of different instrumentation,
Yeah.
would you like to move on to track number 8, Within You, Without You?
Yeah.
This is finally a George Harrison song.
Yep. I love it.
His only one on the album. It's very George-like because there's sitar.
Yeah.
This is after he has spent a lot of time with Ravi Shankar, who was a sitar player. And for some odd reason, a bunch of artists in the U.S. were fascinated by Ravi Shankar.
Yeah.
Because it was different and it was unique, and we weren't used to that non-westernized music.
Yeah.
This has a lot of elements that are common in Indian classical and Hindustani music.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot of this with Dr. Kikasola in the World Pop
And
World
World Pop.
Music class. Like there's the sitar, the tabla, and the tanpura, which are all instruments, and they come in at different times in the traditional classical sense for the Indian music. But George Harrison used it for his own style of music on this song.
Yeah.
And apparently he wrote like the lyrics after meditating and studying with Ravi Shankar a lot and reading the Vedas, Vedas, the Vedas, which is Hindu scripture. So that kind of has some enlightenment type stuff.
Yeah.
That's where the lyrics came from.
Yeah, and I like the basic message of this,
Which is?
which is that the world, you could harken back to the Bad Religion album, where one of the lines was, "The world goes on without you." So, but in George Harrison's version, he says, life happens within you and without you, is basically what it is. So
Everything's important within you, but it will still happen without you.
Yep. So kind of like a peaceful way to say that your existence doesn't matter.
It's an existential crisis. What is this doing on this record? Let's move on to a more whimsical song.
Ooh.
Track number 9 is When I'm 64.
When I'm
Bum,
64.
Bum, bum, bum.
I love the clarinets in this song.
I do too. It's a fun little ditty.
Whoa, I just almost started doing a different song. I almost started doing a
Oh, the Green Rocky Roads.
Yeah.
Yeah, this song is a little ditty about loving a girl and asking if she'll still love him when he's 64.
Yep.
Apparently, Paul wrote this when he was 16 years old.
Really?
And do you know the irony of this song?
What?
Paul separated from his second wife when he was 64.
Ooh. It is ironic.
And I believe his first wife was Linda. I can't remember her last name. I guess Linda McCartney.
Yeah. But beforehand.
But she died. Like they were apparently like celebrities are in and out of relationships. At least the celebrities and relationships that we hear about are often ups and downs. I think Paul was this was like a really good relationship with Linda, and then I can't remember how she died, but it was tragic. Maybe cancer. But it was tragic, and unfortunately, someone did not love him when he was 64. Sad. Because this is a fun. I love this song.
Yeah, same here.
Will you still need me when
you
I'm
still fit me?
64? Bum bum.
When I'm 64. Boom, boom, boom.
It's just like a classically written song.
Yeah, it's like I wouldn't say classically written. It's just like a pop song from like the 50s or something like
A
that.
classic 50s pop song.
Yeah.
That. Let's move on to something that's a little more or less the same and different. And now for something completely same. I think that's from a NoFX album.
Yeah.
Track number 10 is called Lovely Rita.
Lovely Rita.
She was a meter maid. They say it was based on a real lady, but I don't know if it was or not.
Who knows?
I have no reason to doubt them, but who knows? I don't think it's the strongest song on the album. I don't dislike it, but it's one that I never really came back to too terribly often.
I would say that like whenever I was listening to this album, this song would come on and I would
I zoned
disengage.
out.
I would disengage
Yeah, same.
from the album.
Because
at that point.
I liked it, but it just didn't draw me in like some of the other ones did.
I wouldn't want to consciously listen to it.
Yeah, but I like
You know?
the song. It's great.
Yeah.
It's good.
Still a good song,
Yeah.
but
I don't think it's the strongest. Moving on to
Agreed.
track number 11. Good morning. Good morning.
yes.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. That's not how it goes. It's a song about monotony and boredom,
Yep.
essentially. and they have some really cool time signature switches.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you listen, like in halfway through the verse, maybe it just kind of switches up weirdly. Now at the end, there's a whole bunch of animal sounds, and I was thinking maybe this is
the part of the circus when they're bringing out all the animals.
I mean, that's actually a good thought as well, right there, what you're thinking. But I was thinking maybe this is homage to Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys.
Oh.
I knew that there was a relationship between the Beach Boys and the Beatles.
That kind of makes sense.
Paul
actually.
McCartney, at least at one point in time, went on file saying that, what's that one song? God Only Knows. He said that was his one of the best written songs of all time.
Yeah.
So he was a big fan.
That's a good song.
Of Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys. So I thought maybe this was a homage to Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys.
That's interesting.
So I did some research, and it's true.
Really?
Yes, I found
Cool.
it was some Beatles encyclopedia written by Kenneth Womack. Got to give credit where credit's due.
Yep.
He notes that the animal sounds were inspired by the coda on Caroline No by the Beach Boys, which was on Pet Sounds.
Interesting.
And you can hear a ton of animal sounds at the end of that
Interesting.
song. So
that's pretty cool.
So it's definitely, and there was, I did some more research on the Beatles version. There was a method to the madness of which animal sounds you heard.
Really?
Like in a certain order. Each animal was supposed to be able to, like, have more power and control and, like, be able to destroy the previous animal of some sort. So it's supposed to, like,
really?
progress in, like,
So, like, there's a
stronger,
like a chicken, and then like a dog, and then a
more
horse.
aggressive animal or something like that.
Oh, more aggressive. Okay.
Or something like, yeah, just something along those lines.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to the penultimate track?
We shall.
This is Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Crap! Sgt. Pepper's. If I say it slow, I can get it.
Sgt.
Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Reprise.
Club Bland.
Now, this recalls the first track.
Yeah.
But instead of telling the audience that you're here for the show, they're telling the audience or listener, we hope you enjoyed the show. Now it's time for you to go.
Yeah.
And so it's that, like, the bookend. Like, the album's bookended.
Yep.
And I think that this song is great. It's my second to last recommendation as well. I think the guitar tone's awesome on this song. It's more distorted and not what I expect to hear from the Beatles. I've always loved, I'm assuming it's George Harrison. He usually took the lead parts.
Yeah.
But it's a really dirty guitar tone and it sounds great.
Dirty is used in a good sense here.
Yes, like distorted.
Distorted. It's a really dirty guitar tone.
Yeah.
Ew.
I used to hear this song all the time growing up because in KDKA, which was a local AM radio station in Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
KDKA AM 1020, which, side note, was the first commercial radio station in all of the country.
Wow.
/ all of the world.
Wow.
History, Pittsburgh. But there was a radio host named Fred Hansberger.
Yeah.
And every time he was finished with his radio show, they would play this song.
Really?
And as it ended, they would say, "The Hans has just left the building." So every time I listen to this song by myself, that's what I think of.
That's hilarious.
Fun little reference. If I can find a clip of it, I'll put it on the website, but we'll see.
That's funny.
Shall we move on to the last song? And
I thought
arguably
that
one of
was-
the best Beatles
I
songs of all
thought that
time.
was the bookend that could end the album.
It should be. I'm still curious as to why there's one more song.
I think it makes sense.
I did research and I couldn't find why. You can
couldn't
give me
find
why it was put at the end. You can give me your reasoning in a minute, but we have to announce the track first.
Okay.
Track number 13, the last song on the concept album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band,
There you go.
is A Day in the Life.
Yeah, A Day in the Life. What a great song.
This, I don't know. I would, if I was putting the album together, I would have both Sgt. Pepper's songs front and back, but for some reason they don't.
I think it makes sense.
It could. This is comprised of what started out as two separate songs, one being written by John, the other by Paul, and they put them together. John's parts come
Paul
in at the
write
beginning
the-
and at the end,
okay.
and Paul wrote the middle portion.
Okay.
So the parts they sang are the parts that they wrote.
Okay.
Now, this was originally, from some of my research, written to be part of a concept album about growing up in Liverpool. It was written after they did Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane, which were both supposed to be on this album, but were released as singles instead.
Interesting.
And so that was scrapped, I suppose, that idea. But either way, this song is great.
Yeah.
Also among some of my
Very
favorite Beatles songs of all time.
Definitely, yeah. 100%.
Both like John's parts and Paul's parts are completely different,
Mm-hmm.
but both are equally great. John's parts were inspired by news articles that he read, true stories.
Yeah.
There's a suicide of somebody that they were connected with or knew, like the person who blew his brains out in the
car.
yeah.
Yeah.
I read the news today, oh boy. Ba-dum, ba-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. I just like that drum fill. Lucky man who made the grade. The instrumentation's great.
Yeah.
And then it kind of builds up, and then Paul's part comes in, and it's got an alarm clock
Got
going.
out of bed.
Yeah, it's about a guy who wakes up,
upon my head.
has breakfast, and goes to work, and it's mundane and boring.
Yeah.
Whereas John's parts are more spacey
Serious
and contemplative.
Yeah.
But I love both parts almost equally.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
Yeah.
The song ends with this huge crescendo
Yeah.
of like
Huge crescendo of like
of
just
chaos,
yeah, of
almost
chaos, yeah.
all these instrument and the Beatles wanted this crazy sound, but they didn't know how to communicate what they wanted to the musicians.
Mm-hmm.
So they said to the musicians, they told them, we have 15 bars for you to fill. We want you to start pretty much on your lowest note possible and end on your highest note and be crazy getting there, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very loose quote that I'm doing right now, loose summary, paraphrase, whatever you call it.
Paraphrase.
But they did that, and what the musicians did is great, because it's like
I think so.
it's like really stressful, and it's like crazy, and it's building up and building up and building up, and when it gets there, it cuts out, and then there's this huge piano chord, a major sounding piano chord, which took 3 people to play. I
Really?
read. Yes.
Interesting.
So 3 people sat on the piano and played this one chord, because
That's pretty cool.
one person,
Didn't have enough fingers. Or
2
enough
people
reach.
didn't even have enough fingers, so they had 3 people do it.
Well, they probably had enough fingers. They just couldn't reach all the keys.
Yeah. But
Most likely.
Awesome. So it's the instrumentation all around on this song is great.
Yeah, and it's just it's a very interesting
Ambitious.
song.
It's I think one of the most probably ambitious songs at the time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's awesome.
And I would say the title says it all.
A Day
pretty
in the
much.
Life.
Just every day.
Yeah, reading the newspaper about crazy
Everyday
stories,
life.
wondering, contemplating, and
And
then
then getting
going
up.
through mundane life.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so
Why do you think it's
I
not?
think
It's at the
the
end.
reason I think that's at the end of the song, end of the album, is because maybe their goal with the album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
I'm starting a movement with the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
I tried to take out the L in club, so I wouldn't say the L in band, but so I said Cub Band.
Cub Bland.
Cub Band.
That's what I gotta.
But anyway,
Oh,
the
man.
reason I think that it's after that is because it seems as though they want to bring the listener into a certain space within those 2 bookends. So like, like, hey, the show's starting. Hey, the show's ended. Now back to the world, like back to the real world after listening to.
Once you're
Once
done,
you're
with,
done
the,
with the album,
with the
with the actual
show
album.
that takes you out of your life.
Yeah,
'Cause that's
then-
what essentially that's what entertainment's for.
Yeah.
Well, not always, but usually entertainment, such as movies, music, television, books, is to remove you from your own reality to escape. It's escapism sometimes.
To suspend disbelief.
Yeah, not always, because sometimes there is entertainment that's a cause for reflection and examination of your own life. But like most of this and a lot of what the Beatles do is escapism.
Yeah.
To escape the mundane
Escape reality.
boredom of life. Yeah.
So I think they probably put that at the end to still say like, well, there is
Okay.
that reality.
I've never thought of that. That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense, because I was really trying to figure out why this was
Yeah.
the last song, other than the orchestration and the
Other than
overall
that, it's just
ambitious
super awesome.
nature of the track. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sgt. Pepper's is a great album.
So it's almost like an epilogue.
Yeah, I can say that. That makes sense.
It's like if you're going to see a movie.
Yeah.
You go in, you're like, oh man, and then you walk out of the theater and you're like, oh man, back to this place
Yeah.
where I have to get up and get out of bed and run a comb through my head
Go to work.
and go to work and
Fall
then
asleep in a
read
meeting.
crappy news about people dying and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Great album. I'm glad we reviewed this, because it's actually been a little while since I've listened to the whole thing front
Same
to back.
here, yeah.
And it still holds up,
Oh, yeah.
I think. Even though I wouldn't say it's my favorite because I don't want to have a favorite
Yeah.
from the Beatles, but it's such a good album.
It's so strange how their albums have held up for so long.
Is it strange?
Yeah, it is.
I don't think it's strange. I just think it's rare.
Aren't rare things strange?
No.
Really? You don't think so?
I expect there to be rare things. I don't expect to see them always,
So it's strange whenever you do see them.
I suppose, but it's not strange that they exist.
True.
Yeah.
But that doesn't nullify my point.
I suppose intrinsically it's strange.
Yeah.
But I am so
It's strange
familiar with the Beatles' success and legacy that
that's not strange.
it's not strange to me just because I'm so used to it. If I was to be introduced to like modern pop culture and know about the turnover of what's popular, what's in, what has longevity and not, and I didn't know about the Beatles
strange.
at first, and looking at it, I'd say, wow, that's hard to believe that
It's-
a band
so
has
it's
had
strange
this.
that the Beatles are still
influence.
so popular.
Yeah. So yes, it's strange and it's not
And
strange.
rare. It's strange and it's rare.
Yeah. But I think the Beatles will continue to be just as popular for a long time to come.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they have solidified their place in pop culture.
Yeah.
In a culture. We'll say culture.
In musical history.
Yeah.
It's almost as if...
We're musicologists. I'm from
Liverpool. I'm from Liverpool.
I'm from Liverpool. I'm Ringo. Oh, what a great time.
Oh, man.
So, like we said, this was just another fun one-off. Next week, we'll be back to our regular episode, which
Yep.
we do the Animal Collective album, Meriwether Post Pavilion, and Silverstein's A Shipwreck in the Sand.
Yep.
The following week after that is going to be episode 55, which means repeating.
Repeat.
Do you have a recommendation, or should we wait till
Let's
next?
wait. Let's wait.
We'll wait to announce it for next
I
week.
think I have a good idea, but let's just wait.
Yeah, we'll wait. You'll learn about that next week.
Yeah.
Any
And,
last notes about the beer?
Just... Oh, well, sure, about the beer. Then I'll say something else.
No, say one more thing. We'll come back to the
Okay.
beer in a second.
If any of you would like to recommend an album for us to do on a one-off episode, you can find us on all those crazy SMs, social medias.
No one knows what an SM is.
SMS.
That's it's like a text message, I think.
Yeah.
No SMS. Hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, hit us up.
Our email, which is brewsandtunespod. Oh, no, it's americanbrewsandtunes@gmail.com, or go to our website, brewsandtunespodcast.com.
It'll be totally fleek.
Yes, it'll be on fleek. The
It'll be-
fleekest of them all.
It will be so on fleek that it will evolve into being lit.
We're two fleeky guys.
We're two wild and fleeky guys.
I love a fleeky croissant.
That's so bad.
Is it, though?
Yeah.
Oh, watch out! The paint's chipping from my ceiling. You don't want to get that lead fleek in you. Oh! All right, enough of this terrible jokes.
That was such a long setup. Just
Yeah, for a terrible joke. Yeah. I think the beer's still great. As it warms up, it is. It kind of is consistent with that flavor. It's
the maltiness and the sweetness kind of meld together better as it warms up.
Yeah, the carameliness is still there, but it's a great beer. Like I said, it holds up. It's very drinkable.
It's very good.
I'm super satisfied with it.
Very good. So if you get the chance, check out Wiseacre's Oktoberfest.
Or check out anything from Wiseacre. Great brewery. I've enjoyed pretty much everything I've had from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as we always say on American Brews and Tunes.
Are we going to say Prost again?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Shibbity-beep-a-dow!
Prost.
Prost. Prost indeed. Once again, my name is Stephen Johnston.
And my name... Oh, no, wait. Und ich habe... Wait, no. That's wrong. Meine... Meine Name? I can't remember how to say my name.
Jesse's name is
Jesse Titus. Italian.
Thanks for joining us on American Brews and Tunes, you guys.
Yeah. See everybody next time.
Here's a theme song, you know it's not a mean song. It's a good song, just as it should song. American Brews and Tunes. Shibbity-beeby-da.